Hey everyone, the Indy 500 happened. For those of you who didn't know, it happened. It happened this weekend, and it was a pretty good race. And today I'm just gonna take a look at it and what I thought of the race. So let's get into it. Okay, so there are some things about the race that were great. There were some things that were not great, and probably the biggest, most depressing thing was the pre-race. It was pretty bad. I think when it really hit me was when they did Back Home Again in Indiana, and it was just the guy, Jim Corneliuson, no band. It has to be said, this is the first time I've ever watched the Indy 500 on TV. Or at least the first time in like 5-6 years, because I've gone since 2016. And I didn't really watch it much beforehand. But the pre-race was pretty depressing. It was evident that this was this race was impacted by certain events out in the world. Which is, we knew that going in, that the race wouldn't be exactly what it looked like. And once the race got going, I wasn't thinking, oh, there are no fans in the stands. I was just, enjoying the race, because it was a good race. But the pre-race was pretty bad. So let's get into the race, because that's what, people are really here to talk about. It was a good race. There were some aspects that were interesting. There were a couple big controversial calls by the officials. But let's just take a quick look at it. Okay, so the start of the race was pretty good. It was, the restarts and the starts were really crazy. Everyone was, going at it. Ed Carpenter got put in the wall and basically he was out of contention before the second turn. He got put in the wall by Zach Veach. I didn't get a great look at the replay. They didn't show it much, but just looking at it, it didn't really look like Veach's fault. It looked like Carpenter was, sticking his nose in a gap that was going to close. That was off one replay, and it wasn't the best angle. Scott Dixon took the lead off the start, and just, he pulled away. He was dominating. There were a couple Penske cars, and I think it was Oliver Askew who were on an alternate strategy to the main strategy, and they would take the lead. Askew led the race at one point, I think. Zach Veach led the race. So there were some interesting pit moments. The first crash of the day, I think, was Marcus Ericsson, who hit really hard in turn 2. He just lost. It looked like he started to lose the car and corrected into the wall. And we saw that same crash repeatedly. It happened to Ericsson and Palou and Rossi in turn 2, instead of the exit of turn 1. There was that really bad crash off the restart where Daly got up on the concrete and it just sucked the car around. He looped it, and then a really hard hit for Oliver Askew, and he looked like he just tried to avoid it. And, from someone who has raced cars, open wheel cars, not Indy cars obviously, but open wheel cars, when you do, and I imagine it's even more evident on these cars where they're not going fast enough on the restart to really have the downforce affecting the cars very much. I think he just got off the throttle, hit the brakes, and that really just unloaded the rear, and the car just lost it, and he went really hard into the inside retaining wall right by the pits. Luckily, he got out of the car. It looked like he was, a little shaken up, but okay. Yeah. And then, I don't remember if it was that caution, but then one of the cautions there was a pit sequence. And Alexander Rossi was released from his pit box and made contact with Takuma Sato, which resulted in a penalty for Rossi, sending him to the back of the line on the next restart. This was controversial. I agree with the penalty. I think there should be a zero tolerance rule in pit lane. Really, I think it could be zero tolerance for both cars. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that, because you've seen it over and over again in motorsport, especially in the Indy 500, in such a crowded pit lane where pit members get hit, and it's never good. There was the year where all three Dale Coyne cars wrecked each other in the pit lane at Pocono when Alexander Rossi went over the top of Helio Castroneves. The pit lane can be really dangerous, especially when you have, 6 to 8 crew members per team, all out right by the cars, nothing really protecting them, when you can't risk those people getting injured in the pit lane. So I think it was good that he got a penalty. I didn't like that he had to go to the end of the field, because if you watch my prediction video, Rossi was my pick to win. But I think the penalty was deserved, because I think there needs to be a zero tolerance rule in the pit lane. And then on the restart, Rossi starting in the back, he crashed. Not right away. He made a really, really good move with Helio Castroneves. They both passed, I think, 4 to 5 cars on the back straightaway, which was a really good move. But then Rossi wasn't set up to be running in the back. He was set up to be racing with 1 or 2 other cars at the very front. I think Charlie Kimball got back by him, and then in turn 2, right at the apex, he lost the car and hit the wall. And you do have to feel bad for Rossi, because he's had some bad luck here at Indy. He's probably been he could have won last year, could have won this year. But unfortunately, this race is won partly because of luck, and Rossi didn't have that today, or on Sunday. Another story from this race was Fernando Alonso. He did not have pace. He was not fast. He had an average race. He started, mid-20s. I think he finished 20th, but most of those positions were just people crashing out. I think he won't be back at Indy for the next 2 years. Renault said he's not running Indy the next 2 years. I think this was his last chance to win the 500, and he really didn't have a chance. Not really because of the car, just because he needs to commit to the 500. He needs to run more than just the 500 if he wants any chance of winning it. Takuma Sato, he won this year. He came from Formula One. It took him years before he won his first 500. Now he's won his second. But Alonso needs to commit to a full season. And that wouldn't really be until 2023, where he could. So he'll be older then. He's not the oldest guy in the world, but for a race car driver, he's kind of old. I think he's done at Indy. He might come back. You never know. But I don't think he'll commit himself to running in IndyCar for 1 or 2 full years. And I don't think he can win the 500 if he's just coming for the 500. So I think those were Fernando's chances. I just want to say, you can't blame McLaren for his lack of pace. Last year, you could blame McLaren because they were not prepared. But they came with, Air McLaren SP came with Fernando Alonso, Pato O'Ward, and Oliver Askew. So a 2-time world champion and the only driver in the field who's run an Indy 500 out of McLaren. His 2 teammates were much better than he was. Pato O'Ward, Rookie of the Year, no doubt. Oliver Askew probably could also have competed for Rookie of the Year. Unfortunately, he crashed out. They were more prepared for this race than Fernando Alonso was. I think he needs to take it more seriously if he wants to, get the Triple Crown. I'd love to see him get the Triple Crown. I really would. I just don't think the attitude he's bringing to the 500 right now, he's never going to get it. All right, we're going to talk about the finish, which was controversial. The fact that it ended under yellow, especially for fans of NASCAR who have kind of been brought up to believe that a race can't end under yellow. There needs, they just got to keep trying until eventually, they end under green, which is the way NASCAR does it. That's not how IndyCar does it. It's never been how IndyCar does that. There was a stretch of races where I think in the early 2010s where most of the races ended under yellow. And I think this was the right call to not red flag the race, because that would have been, just from what I've heard, an hour to an hour and a half to repair the pit attenuator. Then you would send the cars out and they'd have anywhere from 1 to 2 laps to race to win the Indy 500. And there were 3 to 4 cars at the very front. Takuma Sato, Scott Dixon, really not Scott Dixon actually, but Takuma Sato, Scott Dixon, Graham Rahal, and Santino Ferrucci, I'd say all, if it had been restarted, could have competed to win. And if you put those 4 drivers, who, Takuma Sato, one of the most aggressive drivers, Graham Rahal, one of the most aggressive drivers, and Santino Ferrucci has proven in his 2 years at the 500 that he is fearless at that track. If you gave him 1 or 2 laps and sent him out and said, all right, you have 1, 2 laps to go win the Indy 500, it would be chaos. You'd have situations like the first couple laps of Pocono in the past 2 races where drivers are really over aggressive and do something to cause an accident. And that's what I think would have happened if they sent them out. Not to mention the repair time. To have an hour to hour and a half red flag would have killed the TV ratings, even more than they were, because the TV ratings were not good. So I think it was the right call to end it under yellow. And I think Takuma Sato was the deserved winner. Scott Dixon really made his move with, I think, 10 to 15 laps to go, and Sato blocked him. Defended, because I think it was a perfectly fair move. And I think Dixon's tires were gone after that. He wasn't going to be able to really compete well with Sato unless there was a restart. So I think Sato was the deserved winner. Maybe Graham Rahal, if there was a restart, could have competed to beat Sato. But it was a fair finish. And it was a good finish. Obviously, it wasn't like last year where you had the final 5 laps, the lead was changing, there was heavy defending, coming to the checkered flag. But you had that through the entire final stint of the race, the entire fuel stint. It was that duel between Scott Dixon and Takuma Sato. And Sato put the move on Dixon and then defended Dixon and ended up deserving that in his second 500 win. He deserved that win. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say about the finish. It was a good call and a great finish. Lastly, we're just going to talk my driver of the day, rookie of the year, some of those things I like, people that aren't official winners of anything. Well, I guess rookie of the year aren't official winners of anything, but deserve some recognition. Rookie of the year, Pato O'Ward. He was the only rookie that didn't crash. Between him, Rinus VK, Alex Palou, and Oliver Askew. Askew crashed. Palou crashed. VK hit his teammates, or hit his pit crew and then stalled in the pit, so he took himself out of contention. So, Award was the deserved Rookie of the Year. I think had things gone slightly differently, he would have been competing to win the race. So yeah, he was definitely the Rookie of the Year in my book. Driver of the Day, it's really, I would probably say Graham Rahal. Either Graham Rahal or Santino Ferrucci or Pato O'Ward. Any of those three, I'd call my driver of the day. Biggest disappointment of the day, you could say Marco Andretti because he started on pole and then didn't really have anything in the race. Fernando Alonso was overhyped and then didn't do well. Or Alexander Rossi because he actually was competing to win until, he took himself out of the race. So, yeah, those would be my picks for the secondary awards. Most unlucky driver of the day, probably James Davison, whose, tire blew up in the first 5 laps. If you didn't see that, it was pretty spectacular. His brake rotor started glowing, and then his right front tires exploded and then caught on fire. Those have been my thoughts of the 104th running of the Indianapolis 500. It was a good race. Not the best finish in the world in terms of exciting to the checkered, but it was a good finish before that. And that's it. I'm thinking of some content to put up because I still have a month before my next race at Sebring, which the vlog will be up for that. I'll be vlogging that. Hope you watch it because it is, I think that'll be a really fun weekend. I may have something coming at Road America, not driving, but that should be up maybe right before the Sebring vlog. But let me know in the comments if there are videos you want to see. I'll try and make them. I'm trying to think of some sim racing stuff, some other lists or top 5s involving iRacing and drivers. So yeah, just let me know what you want to see, and thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.